She never even finished college. You know. My father's voice carried across the private dining room of the Windsor Club. Casual and dismissive, as if discussing the weather rather than destroying my reputation in front of 12 strangers. His new wife's family, the Whitmore dynasty of Boston, old money wrapped in older prejudices, nodded with practiced sympathy while I sat at the far end of their antique table, invisible in my MIT hoodie and jeans. But then Emily Whitmore, 23 and bored, pulled out her phone and typed my name into Google, and I watched her face transform from polite disinterest to slack-jawed shock. The only question racing through my mind was, would my father's humiliation when she read those search results out loud be worth the years of letting him believe his own lies? My name is Dr. Keiko Reeves, and I am about to explain how my father spent 15 years thinking. I was a college dropout while I revolutionized renewable energy technology and became one of the youngest people ever awarded a doctorate from MIT. Let me take you back to where this spectacular disconnect began. I was 18 when my parents divorced. My mother, a Japanese immigrant who'd worked 2 jobs to put herself through nursing school, moved back to California. My father remarried within 6 months to Linda Whitmore, a woman 20 years his junior whose family made their fortune in banking 3 generations ago. I was in my first year at MIT, studying electrical engineering and computer science. The divorce happened during finals week. I was drowning in problem sets, pulling all-nighters in the lab, living on coffee and determination. My father called once during that period. How's school? Intense. I'm in the middle of, that's great. Honey. Listen, I'm getting remarried. Linda's wonderful. You'll love her. Dad, I have finals. Can we talk later? Sure. We'll catch up soon. We didn't catch up soon, or ever, really. I spent that summer doing a research internship at a renewable energy lab instead of going home. The work was fascinating, developing more efficient solar panel technology. I barely came up for air. My father didn't call, didn't visit, sent a check for $500 with a note, for expenses. Dad, when sophomore year started, I changed my major to focus specifically on renewable energy systems. I was taking graduate-level courses, working 20 hours a week in a research lab, and sleeping maybe 4 hours a night. I loved every second of it. My father called it Thanksgiving. "Queso, how's college treating you?" "Really well. I'm working on this solar cell efficiency project that could potentially." "That's great. Hey, Linda and I are spending Thanksgiving with her family in Boston. You understand?" "Sure." "Dad, you're still in school though, right? Haven't dropped out or anything?" The question was so absurd, I laughed. "Dad, I'm taking 18 credits and working in a lab. I'm definitely still in school." Good. Keep at it. Education is important." That was the last real conversation we had about my education. What happened over the next few years was a slow accumulation of misunderstandings that I was too busy to correct, and my father was too disinterested to investigate. I graduated MIT with a bachelor's degree in 3 years instead of 4. Graduated top of my class. Actually, I immediately enrolled in their doctoral program with a full fellowship. My research focused on perovskite solar cells, a cutting-edge technology that could revolutionize renewable energy. My father didn't attend my undergraduate graduation. He sent a card. "Congratulations on finishing college. Dad and Linda." I started publishing research papers. At 22, I had my name on a paper in Nature Energy, one of the most prestigious journals in my field. At 23, I filed my first patent for a novel solar cell architecture. I was too immersed in my work to announce these achievements to family. My mother, Nushi, called weekly, bursting with pride. But my father, I assumed he'd see my publications if he Googled my name. I assumed he'd be curious about what his daughter was doing. I assumed wrong. At 25, I defended my dissertation, Dr. Keiko Reeves, PhD in Materials Science and Engineering from MIT. My research on perovskite-silicon tandem solar cells was already being commercialized by 2 major companies. I called my father after the defense, high on exhaustion and accomplishment. "Dad, I finished my PhD. That's single quotes, Wait, PhD. I thought you graduated college already." "I did. 3 years ago. I've been in the doctoral program." "Oh." Long pause. "So you went back to school?" I went straight through. "Dad, I've been at MIT for 7 years. 7 years. That seems like a long time for college." I tried to explain. He didn't really listen. The conversation drifted to Linda's redecorating project and their upcoming cruise. I gave up trying to make him understand. Over the next several years, my career accelerated. I joined a startup focused on next-generation solar technology. We secured $50 million in Series A funding. I was named Chief Technology Officer at 27. By 30, I'd filed 47 patents. 47 innovations in renewable energy technology, each one representing months or years of research, testing, and development. My work was being used in solar installations across 3 continents. I was quoted in the New York Times about the future of clean energy. I gave a TED Talk that got 2 million views. I won the MIT Technology Review's Innovator Under 35 award. My father never mentioned any of it. I don't think he ever looked. We saw each other maybe once a year awkward dinners where he'd ask if I was still working at that solar panel company and I'd say yes, and we'd move on to safer topics. Linda's family was equally disinterested. The Whitmores were old money Boston, the kind of people who valued pedigree over innovation, tradition over progress. They were polite to me in the way wealthy people are polite to service staff. Pleasant but distant. I was fine with it. I had my work, my team, my mother's unconditional support. I didn't need validation from people who couldn't be bothered to Google their own family members. Which brings us to last week, Linda's father's 80th birthday dinner at the Windsor Club. I almost didn't go. I had a deadline. We were finalizing patents on a breakthrough in energy storage technology. But my father had called personally. Keiko, it would mean a lot to Linda if you came. Her whole family will be there. Dad, I'm in the middle of it's one dinner. Please, for me. So I went. I drove down from Cambridge to Boston. Arriving at the Windsor Club still wearing my lab clothes jeans, MIT hoodie, sneakers. I'd been testing prototypes all day and hadn't had time to change. The private dining room was intimidating. Crystal chandeliers, oil paintings of Whitmore ancestors, a table set with china probably older than me. 12 people in business formal attire. And me, looking like I'd just rolled out of a dorm room. Linda's father, Thomas Whitmore patriarch, former bank CEO, current board member of everything important in Boston, greeted me with barely disguised disappointment. Ah, Keiko, you came. Happy birthday, Mr. Whitmore. Thank you. You're sitting down there. He gestured to the far end of the table, next to his youngest grandson, a teenager playing on his phone. I sat. My father was at the other end, next to Linda, laughing at something her brother said. He waved at me vaguely. Dinner began. Conversations flowed around me: stock portfolios, vacation homes, whose children got into which prep schools. I ate my overpriced salmon and tried to look pleasant. Then Linda's sister, Margaret, asked my father, "So, what does your daughter do?" My father glanced at me as if noticing me for the first time that evening. Keiko, she works for some solar panel company. Very ... technical. Did she go to college? Margaret asked, the question carrying that particular upper-class concern about proper credentials. My father laughed, actually laughed. Well, she went to MIT for a while, but she never really finished. Got too caught up in the work, I think. Dropped out to take a job. The table made sympathetic noises. That's unfortunate, Thomas Whitmore said. MIT is a fine institution. Shame she didn't complete her education. These technical jobs don't always require degrees, Linda added, trying to be helpful. Hands-on work can be just as valuable. My father nodded. Exactly. She's happy doing her thing. Not everyone needs a college degree to be successful. I sat there, frozen. As my father, who had UNT, asked me a single meaningful question about my work in over a decade, confidently explained to a room full of strangers that I was a college dropout. Emily Whitmore, Thomas's 23-year-old granddaughter, had been half listening while scrolling on her phone. Suddenly, she looked up. Wait, Keiko, what's your last name? Reeves, I said quietly. She typed something into her phone. Her eyes widened. Holy shit, she said, and the entire table went silent at the profanity. Emily, her mother hissed. But Emily was staring at her phone, then at me, then back at her phone. She has a PhD from MIT. In materials science. She graduated top of her class. The table turned to look at me. Emily kept reading, her voice getting louder. She's published 43 research papers. She has 47 patents, 47, in solar energy technology. She's the CTO of Solar Gen Dynamics, which just raised $200 million in funding. Silence, complete, absolute silence. She gave a TED Talk on the future of renewable energy that has over 2 million views. She won the MIT Innovator Under 35 award. She's been quoted in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and Nature. Emily looked up at me with something like awe. You're kind of famous. In tech circles, anyway. My father's face had gone through several color changes. That can single quotes T. Queso, is this true? Which part? I asked calmly. The PhD, the patents. Yes, all of it. Yes. Thomas Whitmore leaned forward. You have a doctorate from MIT. Yes, sir. I defended my dissertation 8 years ago. I was 25, and you're the chief technology officer of ... double quotes. He consulted Emily's phone. Solar Gen Dynamics. Yes. We're developing next-generation solar technology with significantly higher efficiency than current commercial panels. Linda's brother, a venture capitalist, suddenly looked very interested. Solar Gen Dynamics. You're behind the perovskite silicon tandem cells. I led the research team, yes. We looked at investing in your Series B round. The technology is revolutionary. My father was still trying to process. But you told me you didn't finish college. No, Dad. You assumed I didn't finish. You never asked about my work. You never looked up my publications. You never attended my graduation, any of my graduations. You had multiple graduations. Bachelor's degree, master's degree, doctorate. 3 graduations you didn't attend. The table was watching this unfold like a tennis match. Thomas Whitmore cleared his throat. Dr. Reeves, I must apologize. We were clearly misinformed about your ... credentials. You weren't misinformed, I said. You just didn't ask. Emily was still scrolling. Oh my God, there's a Wikipedia page about you. Dr. Keiko Reeves is an American materials scientist and engineer known for her pioneering work in perovskite solar cell technology. She looked up. You have a Wikipedia page. It's not that impressive, I said, though honestly, it kind of was. Linda's venture capitalist brother extended his hand across the table. Dr. Reeves, I'm James Whitmore. I'd love to discuss your work sometime. We're always looking for groundbreaking technology investments. I'm happy to connect you with our CFO, I said professionally. We're currently in late-stage Series C discussions. How much are you raising? We're targeting $300 million. The number hung in the air. Thomas Whitmore's birthday dinner had just turned into an impromptu investor pitch. My father finally found his voice. Keiko, why didn't you tell me? I did tell you, Dad. Multiple times. You just never listened. But you never said you had a PhD. I called you the day I defended my dissertation. You said that seems like a long time for college and changed the subject. He opened and closed his mouth several times. I sent you copies of my research papers. Did you ever read them? I thought they were just work stuff. They were work stuff. Groundbreaking research published in top-tier journals. You could have Googled my name at any point in the last 15 years. Margaret, Linda's sister, spoke up. To be fair, not many people Google their own family members. No, I agreed. But most parents ask their children about their careers. Show interest. Attend graduations. The teenager next to me, Emily's younger brother, leaned over. That TED Talk was actually really good. We watched it in my physics class. Thanks, I said, managing a smile. Thomas Whitmore was looking at me with new eyes, the calculating gaze of someone reassessing value. Dr. Reeves, your work in renewable energy must be quite lucrative. I do well enough. She probably makes more than all of us combined. Emily said, still scrolling through search results. CTO stock options in a company worth over $1 billion. Actually, our last valuation was $1.3 billion, but I didn't correct her. James Whitmore was typing notes into his phone. Dr. Reeves, may I call you Keiko? I'd genuinely love to learn more about your technology. Are you familiar with Whitmore Ventures? Your Series B fund that focuses on clean tech. Yes. You passed on our Series A. He winced. That was a mistake. Clearly, it was. We're doing quite well. The dinner continued, but the entire dynamic had shifted. Suddenly, I wasn't the dropout embarrassment at the end of the table. I was Dr. Keiko Reeves, innovator, CTO, the most accomplished person in the room. People asked me questions. Real questions, about my research, my company, my vision for renewable energy. Linda's family, who'd barely acknowledged my existence for 15 years, suddenly wanted to know everything. My father sat quietly, looking shell-shocked. After dinner, as guests were leaving, Thomas Whitmore pulled me aside. Dr. Reeves, I owe you an apology. We made assumptions based on incomplete information. You made assumptions based on my father's dismissiveness. I corrected gently. But I accept your apology. I'd like to make it up to you. My foundation funds clean energy initiatives. Perhaps we could discuss a grant for your research. I'll have my team reach out, I said. Thank you. My father caught me in the parking lot as I was leaving. Keiko, wait. I turned. He looked older suddenly, diminished. I'm sorry, he said. I should have paid more attention. Should have asked more questions. Yes, you should have. I'm proud of you. I didn't know what to be proud of, because you never asked, Dad. For 15 years, you never once asked me to explain my work. You never came to a graduation. You never read a single paper I sent you. I know. I'm not angry, I said, and realized it was true. I'm just disappointed. I did all of this, the PhD, the patents, the company, and you didn't notice. You were too busy with Linda's world to see what I was building. He nodded, unable to meet my eyes. I need to go, I said. I have a meeting in the morning with a Department of Energy committee. We're discussing a $50 million research grant. I got in my car. Tesla ID gotten a discount on because the CEO knew my workhand drove back to Cambridge. My phone buzzed with texts as I drove. Several from Emily asking if she could interview me for her college career paper. One from James Whitmore with meeting requests. One from my mother. How was dinner? I smiled and voice texted back. Interesting. Tell you later. The next morning, my father called. Keiko, I've been up all night reading about your work. I had no idea. I know. That solar cell technology, it's incredible. You're changing the world. I'm trying. Can we have dinner sometime? Just us. I want to understand your work. Really understand it. I thought about it. Maybe, but Dad, if we do this, you have to actually listen. You have to care about what I'm doing, not just because it's impressive to the Whitmores, but because I'm your daughter. I will, I promise, we'll see. 3 months have passed since that dinner. My father and I meet monthly now. He asks questions, real questions about my research. He's reading my papers, or at least trying to. He attended a lecture I gave at MIT. It's not perfect. We're rebuilding from nearly nothing, but it's something. The Whitmores, meanwhile, have become surprisingly useful connections. Thomas's foundation funded a $2 million research grant for my lab. James's venture fund invested $20 million in our Series C. Emily is now doing an internship at my company. Turns out, being famous in tech circles opens doors, even in old money Boston. Last week, I was invited to speak at the Windsor Club about innovation in renewable energy. The same dining room where my father had declared me a college dropout. I wore jeans and my MIT hoodie, because I've earned the right to dress however I want. My name is Dr. Keiko Reeves. I'm 33 years old. I have a PhD from MIT, 47 patents, and I'm helping build the future of renewable energy. And I learned something valuable. Your achievements don't need someone else's acknowledgement to be real. But it's satisfying as hell when they finally figure out what they missed. My father was in the audience at that Windsor Club talk. When I finished, he stood and applauded first to his feet, tears in his eyes. It wasn't everything I'd needed 15 years ago. But it was something. And sometimes, something is enough.